Welcome everyone to a dark tale where the stories get real dark real fast. And as usual, we have 3 stories for you today. So let's roll the intro and get right to it. So welcome guys to another episode of a Dark Tale. I'm sorry if this video comes out late because if you can hear my voice, I'm a bit sick this week. So I was running a fever and I couldn't record anything. But today, since I feel a little bit better, I'm in the recovery phase. So I decided to record a video and I want to post it by this week. Hopefully, if I can, maybe by Saturday or Sunday. So again, I apologize if you guys don't see another video. And secondly, I would like to thank all the new subscribers because there's been a surge of subscribers recently, and I would like to thank every one of you for subscribing because every single subscriber count goes a long way for a small content creator. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys can like the videos as well so it can reach a wider audience. And if you got a story of your own, don't forget to head down to our TikTok and submit your stories over there, and I will respond to you guys, and maybe the next episode we can have your stories featured. So let's not delay too much and talk about how sick I am. And let's head on to the first story. So the first story of tonight is actually from Tunga. And if you remember the last episode, if you haven't watched the last episode yet, go and watch the last episode because that was mainly all Tengah stories. But since I have one more Tengah story left over, I'm going to say it today. Unfortunately, someone commented for me to invite someone to tell their Tengah stories, but a lot of people don't want to let their face be known and tell out their stories or their experience. But recently I heard that Tengah is way more better than it was last time. So whatever stories we have now, it's the last few already lah. So anyway, if you guys like this video, do remember to thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't been subscribing. And let's not delay too much and head on to the first story of tonight, which happens in Tengah. So what this person have said is that when Tengah was first handed over to their residents, the environment was honestly terrible. And I'm not talking about the build quality or the amenities. It's more of spiritually. The whole estate felt heavy, cold and dark. Almost as if we were trespassing on the land we didn't belong on. Even though my partner and I had waited so long for our BTO keys and we were officially the owners of the flat, it never truly felt like the unit belonged to us. We didn't have one single massive event that happened to us, but rather a series of incidents that made us constantly question what was wrong with Tengah. So the first red flag happened shortly after we hired a domestic helper. She was from Indonesia and her hometown is a rural village. On her very first night in our flat, I got up past midnight to grab a drink from my room. So from my room, I walked all the way to my kitchen. As I passed her room, I noticed her lights were on and the faint sound of religious prayers were playing from her phone. So this was a bit strange. And the next morning I asked her if everything was okay and what happened last night. She looked exhausted and confessed that the entire night she had the terrifying sensation of being watched through her bedroom window. I was puzzled. She came from a village where she used to be in pitch black nights and dense nature, all that kind of stuff. So for her to feel uneasy in a modern Singapore high-rise building showed just how heavy the atmosphere in Tengah was. Not long after, my partner had his own experience. So one day, he came home late around 1 a.m. after a long day out. As he walked through the front door, he saw me standing in the kitchen under the bright light. So meaning when he was coming back home, he opened, and then when he turned, he saw that his wife was in the kitchen. So when he saw me standing in the kitchen under the light, laughing, he jokingly said, "Wow, is that supper for me?" And he walked past the kitchen into our master bedroom to freshen up, expecting me to follow him right behind. So maybe he thought I was almost going to be done cooking, or basically I was done lah. But when he stepped inside the dark bedroom, he froze. There I was, fast asleep in the bed under the covers. A cold sweat broke out over him. We always turn off every single light in the house before going to sleep. And that's when he recalled, why wasn't the kitchen light off? But when he slowly walked back out into the living room, he realized that this was not a common occurrence. And the kitchen was completely empty. The most chilling incident, however, happened after we installed CCTV cameras to the entire flat, the kitchen, the rooms, the halls, everywhere, because there was too many experiences that we had personally. So one morning, the worst incident of them all was my partner and I woke up to find a full breakfast already prepared on the dining table. This was completely out of character for our routine, because we have always told our helper this. The instructions was to only prepare breakfast after she saw us get up, so that our coffee and our food won't go cold. So when we came out and we saw this table that was all prepped up, we were a bit lost, and we asked her why she made the food so early. But she looked even more confused. She swore that earlier that morning, she had walked into her living room and seen my partner sitting quietly on the sofa. She claimed she asked if he wanted breakfast, and my partner on the couch simply just nodded at her. She went into the kitchen, she prepared the meal, but when she brought out the food, the living room was empty. But she just assumed my partner just gone back into the bedroom to rest. When we told her that my partner had been asleep next to me in the locked bedroom the entire morning, her face drained and she became pale. She started visibly shaking and pleading with us, "Ma'am, please don't joke about these kind of things." So to calm her down, we laughed it off and told her we were just joking lah, we were just pulling your leg. But later that afternoon, when my partner and I privately pulled up the CCTV footage from that morning, our blood ran cold. On the recording, we watched our helper walk out of a room in the dim morning light, turn towards the empty sofa, and clearly had a conversation with an invisible presence. So in that conversation, she is basically asking the same thing, like, "Sir, you want food?" But she was responding to something she clearly saw sitting right there, but in the video there was nobody there except for her. After that, we brought in some religious leader, held prayers, and did everything we could to cleanse and bless the unit. Thankfully, as months passed and more neighbors officially moved into our block, the heavy energy dissipated and the disturbance completely stopped. They say spirits only linger where spaces are hollow and quiet. So one thought still bugs me to this day. When a whole block fills up with people, those entities don't just vanish into thin air. They just move somewhere else. And my question have always been, Where is that place? So that was the first story of tonight. I tell you guys, I don't know if there is more tengah stories. If you guys have more tengah stories, don't forget to submit it in to us, because Tengah is like a new estate that has so many stories and history. Because if you guys don't know about Tengah history, it's been a forest for a very, very long time. And from what I heard is that there was a kampung living inside Tengah, but eventually it got abandoned, and Tengah has been just a forest for, I think, more than 20 years from what I can remember. But this place, if there was a kampung, usually what happens is that kampung people, not everyone, but a lot of them actually have barang, they call it barang, which is like spiritual stuff with them, or protection, which they just throw down there before they leave the place, because it's going to be a forest anyway, right? So they either bury it or they put it nearby a tree before they leave the place. So when there's no proper prayers in place and people start digging through the forest and then removing the whole forest, these spirits have nowhere to go. So what happens is that when houses are built and there are places for them to stay, you can guess where they're going to go, right? So that is the first story of tonight, which is about Tengah. And now we move on to the second story, which is about a security guard that has been like his first job lah, basically. And this is what he have experienced personally. So let's move on straight into the second story, and this person have named himself, so I think it's okay for me to name him. What he have said is that my name is Rudy. Recently I've been on the hunt for a job, but with how tough the market was, I couldn't afford to be picky. I started spamming my resume everywhere, applying for literally anything that was hiring. The very first response I got was for a security guard position. Thankfully, I had already taken the required licensing courses beforehand, so I was ready to go. During the interview, after asking a few basic questions, the manager paused, looked at me and asked if I was okay working mostly night shift, because nobody wanted to. He quickly rephrased it, saying that they had just trouble finding reliable staff for the slot. So when he was going for the interview, basically the person said like, are you okay working night shift now? Because nobody want to work night shift. Right? Like, no, sorry, I mean not nobody wants to work, but we haven't found the right person to fill up the slots. So that is to me the first red flag. And honestly, to me, it just sounded like a sweet deal. I've always been more active at night anyway, and the night shift security usually means a quiet environment where you can relax once your rounds are done. I accepted the offer on the spot. On my very first night, another guard was assigned to show me the ropes. He took me through the patrol route, showing me the specific spots where I needed to snap photos on my phone every few hours to prove I've done my rounds. So before he left me on my own, he looked me in my eyes and gave me 3 strict rules to follow. Number 1, once you finish your rounds, do not loiter anywhere and head straight back into the guard booth. Second, never whistle, hum or sing while walking the grounds. Third, always without fail, knock on the toilet door before stepping in. So to me, the first two seem like standard night shift etiquette, because you don't want to be singing when you're walking the rounds, especially if people are still working at night. And also, not to loiter around because people will be observing you, right? So later people complain. So he thought it was okay, but locking the toilet door before going in the toilet was pretty weird to him. So still I didn't question it because that were the rules and I'm going to follow it. And for the night shift, there's only one guard for my place. So I followed the rules strictly for the first week and everything went completely fine. I never hummed, I never loitered around, and I always knocked the toilet door before I went to do my business. But as the days went by, I started to get a little bit more comfortable, and that's when complacency set in. And slowly I started ignoring the instructions that were given. On one particular night, the building was dead quiet. Hours passed without a single soul inside. So around 2 a.m, I left my booth to do my routine patrol. I was feeling a bit bored in the empty corridor, so I started humming a random tune to myself as I walked towards the restroom. So before he was going to the toilet, he just like and then he made his way as he walked towards the restroom, forgetting the rules entirely. So I just pushed the main door open without knocking, walked straight into one of the cubicles and pulled out my phone to scroll while I was doing my business, and I continued to hum softly. Suddenly I froze. The sound of a neighboring cubicle door clicking shut echoed through the quiet restroom. I looked at my phone. 2 a.m? Who could it be? But the second thought was a wave of embarrassment because firstly I thought the building was completely empty and now someone had caught me making noise in the stall. But before I even could gather my thoughts, the person in the next cubicle started humming back. It was the exact same tune, but the voice was a soft, delicate woman kind of sound, and it sounded just different. Oh shit, I thought, my heart sinking into the stomach. Did I walk into the female toilet by mistake? My panic started setting in. Getting caught in the woman's restroom would definitely get me fired on the spot, or worse, reported to the police. But as I listened to her, there was something deeply unsettling about the sound. The voice didn't sound entirely human. It was eerie, but at the same time magnetic, almost hypnotizing me into a standstill. So when he was still sitting there, he could hear the humming. So I just forced myself to snap out of the gaze. I quickly pull up my pants, get dressed and unlock the cubicle door, but just slowly. So he just and then just a little bit of crack to pick out and make sure that the coast was clear. So I was looking through the hole, scanning through, and what I caught, the first thing I caught through my eyes was the row of wall-mounted urinals near the sink. A messy massive wave of relief washed over me. I was in the men's room after all, so I wasn't wrong. That other person was wrong. That meant that they were in the wrong toilet. Since it was way past midnight, I didn't want to make a scene or make her feel uncomfortable. So I stepped out to quickly wash my hands at the basin and left. So when I was washing my hand, I splashed water on my face to freshen up and looked up in the mirror. My chest instantly tightened because reflected in the glass behind me, a head was peeking over on top of one of the cubicle partition. So when he was washing his hand and washing his face, when he looked up, what he saw was a head just looking like this at him. What I saw was a long black hair draped over the ledge, and two pale hands were tightly gripping on top of the wall, as if whoever was in there was tiptoeing just to stare down at me. I blinked and straight away glanced to the back of the cubicle, to the back facing the cubicle, but there was nothing there. But I was trying to stay rational. I took a step towards the store and said, "It's okay, ma'am, I know you came into the wrong room, but don't worry, I won't disturb you. You can just finish and I'm going to be leaving anyway." So I turned around to walk, but as I glanced back at the mirror once more, I noticed something strange. The cubicle door that I saw the lady in wasn't fully shut. There was a slight gap. Puzzled, I turned around completely and said out loud, "Excuse me, I think that your door isn't closed properly. Please go and close it." But silence. Hello? Hello? I called out. I was knocking on the door and suddenly the door slowly swung open on its own. The cubicle was completely empty. A cold, heavy knot formed in my stomach. Every instinct in my body screamed that I was in danger. So I took a slow breath, forced myself to stay calm, and turned towards the exit, trying to walk at a normal pace to act like nothing was wrong. As I walked down the dimly lit corridor outside, my breathing became faster and faster. A voice in the back of my mind kept telling me to turn around, but I fought the urge because I know nothing good is going to come out if I turn around. Then, echoing from deep inside the empty restroom behind me, as I was walking, I heard it again. The exact same tune I hummed earlier, but being hummed back out loud in that eerie woman's voice. So at this point, I couldn't control myself. I whipped around my head to look back down the hallway. Squatting near the entrance of the restroom, crouched on all fours with half her body leaning out into the corridor, was a woman with long messy hair, and she was staring straight at me on all fours. I let out a terrifying yell, "Ah!" Turned and sprinted for my life. I didn't stop, look back, or slow down. I just burst into the safety of the guard booth and slammed the door shut. The rest of the shift, I did not sleep. Every small creak in the building triggered a spike of adrenaline, and the heavy feeling of being watched never left the room. It didn't feel like it was inside the booth, but it felt like something was watching me from outside of the booth. When the sun finally came up, the morning guard arrived to swap shifts. Seeing how shaken I was, he sat me down and I just had to pour out everything that happened. He listened calmly, sighed and told me that the incidents like mine were completely normal here, which was the exact reason night shift guards never lasted long. But he reassured me that as long as I strictly followed those 3 rules that he mentioned, nothing would ever physically harm me. He told me I had 2 choices at there. I could quit right now and go back to being jobless, or I could stay, follow the rules and get paid. As terrified as I was, the fear of having no income scared me even more. So I chose to stay. But ever since that night, I followed every single instruction. I never skipped any step, and I never ever stepped foot into that restroom until the sun was fully up. So that was the second story of the night. Honestly, security guard stories is... I'm not sure if security guards have a lot of stories, or is it just some people, or is it just some buildings. But I've never worked as a security guard before, and I don't really have friends that work in security guard line. So I wonder at night, like, especially those, let's say in Tuas or maybe Sungai Gadut, where it's more abandoned, and not really abandoned, but it's super inside where there's no human presence, nobody's walking around that place. So actually, what do you feel during that time? I honestly have no idea lah, but maybe I would like to try for one night to see how it feels like. I don't know if I'm setting myself up for failure, or I'm shooting myself in the foot by asking that lah, but I guess I'd rather not. So anyway, again, before we head on to our last story for tonight, thanks to all the new subscribers. We are up to 930 subscribers, I think. And as promised, when we are at 1,000 subscribers, I will do something special for you all. But you guys need to comment down below on what you guys want me to do. You guys want me to adventure somewhere? Again, I'm shooting myself in the because maybe you guys want me to adventure at a certain place, maybe, I guess, or I don't know lah. It's up to you guys. I'm just here to do something like every milestone, do something extra or special, or you guys comment down below what you guys want me to do, or maybe the places you want me to go. But don't forget that the place shouldn't be me trespassing the place. Maybe I can do it outside, but nothing more than that. Or if you guys just want to hear ghost stories for 1 hour, 2 hours straight, then I'll go more towards that kind of thing. So comment down below. Again, guys, thanks for subscribing. Hope we can hit 1,000 subscribers. Even though it doesn't sound like much and my videos just get 100 and 200 views, it still means a lot to me that every one of you do watch my videos and have been subscribing, because that matters the most to me. And with that, let's go on to the third story of tonight, which is also the last story of tonight. And it's same related. It's not about security guard, but it's about a job and this person traveling overseas. So what this person have told me is that he has a story to share, but this didn't happen back home in Singapore. Just so people don't stereotype the country that I live in, I won't mention the exact location on where this is. I work in regional sales, so my job involves traveling around the region to pitch products and convince overseas companies to do business with us. So on this particular trip, I packed my bags, took a late afternoon flight and checked into my hotel by nightfall. Feeling hungry, I wanted to stretch out my legs after being on a plane, so I decided to walk out to grab some supper. I was scrolling on my phone while walking, not paying much attention to where I was going. By the time I finally looked up, I realized I had walked much further than intended and had no idea where I was. The streets were dimly lit and there were hardly anyone around. Just as I pulled up my maps to navigate back to where everyone was, I heard this slow traditional music echoing from down a side street. It wasn't any song I recognized, but it had this strangely captivating, almost hypnotic charm to it. Without thinking twice, I followed the sound, winding deeper into a dark, quiet alley. So, as I was walking and following the sound, at the end of the alley stood a small, eatery. Standing at the side cooking was a young, striking woman whose looks were just mesmerizing. The moment I approached, she didn't say a word. She just smiled, ushered me to the table, and automatically placed a small plate of crackers in front of me. I ordered a bowl of noodles. When the food arrived, I took one bite and I was blown away. I couldn't believe a hidden tiny stall in a back alley could make something that tasted so incredible. So after finishing my meal, I paid her extra and told her to keep the change. And that was the beginning of it. For the next 4 nights in a row, I visited her store for dinner every single night without fail. And the same thing happened. I would listen to the music. She would usher me to the table. She would just point to the table. I'll order my food and then I will leave for the night. So, towards the end of my trip, I successfully closed the deal with my client. I had hit it off with a few guys from their local team, and on my last night, they invited me out to join them for a big group dinner. But I kept declining, telling them I already had a specific place that I always go to and I didn't want to miss the last few times that I can eat here. I couldn't explain why, but I felt this intense, unshakable urge that I had to eat at that stall. Seeing how persistent I was, they said, "Okay lah, fine lah, we'll walk with you. Show us this place since none of us have ever heard of it." So as we walk down the main road and I led them deeper and deeper into the quiet alleys, I could hear the music back again, so I knew where I was going. But I noticed the guys behind me started whispering to each other in a low voice. So they were looking at each other and then I thought it was a bit weird, but I kept walking until I reached the familiar turn. So when he was walking and then finally, after this turn is the shop, I turned the corner, pointed and said, "Hey, there here." I froze. The nice, charming storefront with the soft music, the young, beautiful woman was all gone. In its place was a rundown old eatery filled with locals. Behind the counter was an elderly woman cooking over a stove. I stood there in complete shock. I turned back to my friends and stammered, "Wait guys, I think maybe we took the wrong turn. This is not the stall." But as I look around the surrounding walls, the alley, the shops beside, deep down, I knew this was the exact same spot. I looked back at the old woman behind the stove. She reached out and placed the exact same plate of crackers onto the table and pointed to the table and that I had sat at for the last 4 nights. My brain completely short-circuited and shut off. I thought I was losing my mind. This is impossible. I thought I was on a prank show. Where are the hidden cameras? And I started looking around, waiting for the gag moment. The I actually started looking around at the light fixtures and ceiling corners, waiting for someone to jump out and tell me it was all a joke. But nobody did. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my shoulder. It was one of the local colleagues that was following me. He pulled me around to face the main road and whispered sternly, "Don't say anything, just keep walking." So after he saw the colleague just grab him by his shoulder like this, like a friend, turned him around and then said, "Just keep walking, don't say anything yet." We walked in complete silence until we were several blocks away, back under the bright streetlights of the main strip. Only then did he stop, look at me and ask me to explain every single detail of what I had experienced over the past 4 nights. I told him everything: the music, the young woman, the incredible tasting food, and the overwhelming urge to return every single night. He listened quietly and nodded and explained what had actually happened. So, in their country or their culture, some business owners use dark spiritual items or charms or just like a guardian specifically meant to lure customers in to make them some money. He told me that each victim sees or experiences something tailored to manipulate them, whether it's a beautiful face, an irresistible smell, or a sense of hypnotic comfort. But then the underlying objective is always the same: to bind you to the shop and drain your wallet so that every single night you will keep coming back to the place. Hearing that was a massive wake-up call for me. It felt like everything just clicked. I understand that different countries have different practices, and in some places those ancient beliefs are still very much alive and deeply rooted in their daily life. Thankfully, due to my colleagues, I made it back home safe. But that experience completely changed how I travel. Now whenever I'm overseas in a foreign place, I make sure that I don't have the strong urge, I don't feel hypnotized, and the shop looks like a normal shop. If I can, I will just go to a cafe and call it a night. So that was the last story of tonight that we have for today. I honestly haven't had this experience because this experience actually happened a lot of times, even in Singapore, which is quite shocking to me because I have never had issues finding for a shop, a restaurant or anything. But there was some interview that I've watched previously where I'm not sure the cafe name, so I'm not going to try to guess, but this cafe owner basically have been affected by black magic, and he have said that actually there have been people who said that they have walked past his shop. They actually wanted to go into his shop, but when they looked inside, the shop was completely dark, like it was closed. So I'm not sure like how it is, to the point he said that there was one time when he was inside the shop and he actually saw customers looking into the shop to see if anybody was there, because all they saw was pitch black, like the shop was almost abandoned. There was even a time when his own friends couldn't find his shop, even though they used a GPS location to right at that place. So they would just keep walking past the shop over and over again until they just eventually left. And the sad part of it all was that the restaurant actually, or the cafe actually closed down. And it was all because of someone that did black magic to him. And if I'm not wrong, he actually figured out who did the black magic. So my note to everyone is, do not trust anyone, and always try to be neutral with everyone. Don't argue, because the moment you start to argue with people and they do this kind of thing, it's going to be a back and forth thing, because you might think that I know, nothing going to harm me, this is the 21st century, whatever it is. But when you're going through it and actually going through it, it's a different feeling. It's like a few years ago, if you ask me about, well, in 2026, will there be wars? I will definitely say no, but look at the world around us now. There's so many wars that is actually going on. So always don't take things for granted. Thankfully, I live in a country where it's a bit more safe, but with tons and tons of rules and fines and everything. So the cost of living is high, but I guess that comes with the safety aspect of it. So that was the last story of tonight. Again, if you guys got your own submission, do submit your submissions to my TikTok page, which is a Dark Tale, exactly the same as our YouTube, and DM me. So I have to accept your DM before you can continue. So just reply me with a hi, or telling me that you have a story to share, and I would accept the request, and then you can send me a story lah. Then from there we can talk, and I will try to get a timeline, maybe to see how I can phrase your story even better for the members of the public, so that they can hear. And anyway, that comes to the end of today's video. But before I end the video, I just have a little bit off topic, but I just want to let you guys know about, there's this online petition that is going on, which is about the clearing of Maju Forest, if I'm not wrong, and Dover Forest. So everyone is trying to protect their forest. Even though I do horror content and I may not look like the type of person that actually is very into this nature stuff, but I actually really love having a bit of nature everywhere, because that are the lungs of our country. If we clear out forests to do housings, I mean, I understand that we want people to move in, but there are people with 2-3 different properties, and we can get the buildings to be a bit more taller, I guess. But there has been restriction around here because of like the base, the army camp base. I think it's the Air Force, so you can't go above a certain floor. But honestly, for saving such a huge forest, it might look like a small forest on the map, but honestly, when you walk in, it's actually pretty big forest. And let's save the forest, because that's the last remaining stuff that we have that's a bit more like fresh air. And did you know that I didn't know this, but there are pangolins, if I'm not wrong, which is endangered around the world but still surviving in Singapore. There is a bird that is called the bulbul, if I'm not wrong, and 1/3 of the population is actually in Singapore. Across the whole world, Singapore is one of the strongest foundation for this bird. So I hope to still have the forest around. I know we need housing, but I'm confident that we can find a work around things, because clearing such a big forest that connects all the way to different forests. So there is this forest here, and then there's a road, and then there's a continuation of forest. There are a lot of animals that actually do crossing around there. So the forest is technically connected all the way until Macritchie, if I'm not wrong. So if you guys go and find, I think, change.org, there is petitions on saving the forest. So if you can, do sign up on the petition. And if you really love animals and forests and nature kind of thing, don't forget to send your feedback to HDB. I think there will be a link. Hopefully I can provide those links down below in the in the bio. And hope you guys can be a part of this journey and saving the forest, because that is the last remaining forest that we have today. So with that, let's end today's video. I hope you guys have a good one, and don't forget that this is a dark tale where the stories get real dark real fast. I'll catch you guys in another one next week. See you.